Harry Potter is one of the most beloved franchises of all time, but it's not without its flaws. The more you look at it, the more you realize that beloved or fan favorite characters have problematic traits, have aged poorly, or just are horribly underwritten. Here are some of the worst written characters in Harry Potter. Snape is set up as a character with a huge redemption arc and very bravely sacrifices his life in order to stop Voldemort and save Harry. And perhaps it's because the character was played perfectly by the late, great Alan Rickman that we are willing to forgive that Snape is just trash. He loved a girl who didn't love him back his whole life and then made it his mission to have a vendetta with a teenager because that teenager looked like his dad and had his mother's eyes. His sacrifice of going undercover and then having his nice moment before his demise doesn't forgive that Snape is awful. The books and the films idolized Sirius Black, and while he was an interesting character that wasn't your cookie-cutter hero like others, we still were supposed to root for him. And while his desire to recruit Harry to fight alongside with him does reveal an interesting flaw in Sirius, just wanting his best friend James back, it makes him the exact opposite of a role model. Plus, I know I was just harping on Snape for being awful, but Sirius bullied that guy for like his entire life, both in childhood and in adulthood, when he really should have grown up a bit and stopped picking on that greasy-haired creep. I guess I'm doing it too. Fleur Delacour comes from the Beauxbaton School, and she's chosen as the champion to compete in the Triwizard Tournament. A tournament designed to, I guess, hopefully torture teenagers. Anyways, to be chosen as the champion, you have to be the smartest, bravest, most talented witch or wizard from your school, and all other champions got to show why they were picked. But Fleur was just presented as a pretty half-Vila who couldn't do a lot of things herself. She eventually marries Bill Weasley, and her biggest character moment is deciding to stay with Bill even though he's disfigured. As a pretty person, her biggest character growth moment was staying with someone uglier than her. Not great writing. Gilderoy Lockhart is a fun character to read and watch, but the more you dive into his character motivations, the less he makes any sense whatsoever. He obviously knows he's a fraud, and yet he constantly puts himself in positions to expose himself as a fake. Like, why would he agree to this teaching job when he knows he can't do anything? He's inconsistent in that he's naive in thinking he can do all these things, but also ruthless enough to know he steals credit for everything and is a big liar. What gives? The Half-Blood Prince movie does a lot of things right, but the handling of Lavender Brown is not one of them. The movie is all about teenage romance, but Lavender is treated more as a silly, girly, shrill joke than an actual character. We just learn that she's shallow and becomes obsessed with Ron to the point of stalker territory. We're supposed to laugh at the humor, but it's so cringe the way they treat her. It really makes fun of girly girls and shows they are mostly airheads and lovesick all the time. It's even worse when later she gets mauled and killed by a werewolf. While Helena Bonham Carter gave an absolutely deranged and delicious performance as Bellatrix Lestrange, that doesn't hide the fact that the character lacks a bit of depth. I think only an actress of Carter's skill can make such a thinly written villain pop so much, because Bellatrix is a little lackluster. Her whole deal is that she's evil and enjoys being cruel. Plus, her only purpose seems to be to please the main antagonist, which is a little problematic when you dive into it. Sometimes characters are just evil, but Bellatrix could have been so much more. And as we learn in the Cursed Child book, she was in love with Voldemort, which doesn't do much to make her a better written character. In fact, it might make her worse. Vernon Dursley is Harry's abusive uncle that hates Harry for being a wizard. He is, by all accounts, a major bigot, but while Petunia and Dudley both got moments to flesh out their characters, Vernon remained underwritten. Petunia, we learn, hates Harry because she was both always jealous of Lily and also mourning her sister's death, while Dudley realized that Harry was a good person after he got saved from the Dementors. Vernon didn't get a moment of his own, which is a little strange. It makes it hard to understand why Vernon hates magic so much. Ginny Weasley is a frustrating character, especially in the movies. Her and Harry have almost no chemistry and don't even interact much in the films, which makes their romance incredibly confusing. In the books, the romance has time to develop, but in a 2-hour movie, we get no characterization whatsoever for Ginny, which makes Harry all of a sudden falling in love with her seem a little random. It's one of the biggest instances of the book did it better and shows that sometimes movies shouldn't adopt every plot point from the book if it doesn't make sense in what you have set up in film. Draco was a bit of an odd character throughout the series. He remained a consistent presence, but it sometimes felt like the books didn't know what to do with Draco's character development. He starts off as the main antagonist to Harry at school, but then becomes more of a joke as the series goes on. But then is handed the biggest character moment in the series where he has to kill Dumbledore. It's such a vital moment in the series, but Draco had become such a joke up to that point, especially in the movies, that the moment doesn't carry as much weight as it should. Hermione Granger is the greatest witch of our time, but the way that she's written a lot of the time is to be the mom friend. She takes care of the two idiots in Harry and Ron, and literally they could not do a single thing without her. The series does not work without Hermione saving the day, and the fact that she's not the hero of the story is baffling to me. She's forced in a role where she has to be the nag or the nerd, and that's not befitting such a fantastic witch who constantly saves the day. Who do you think is the worst written Harry Potter character? Do you prefer the books or the movie characters? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching CBR. See you next time.